All right, Robert.
Hi, Jenner.
Hello, Robert. The worst October on the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, and probably the worst October anywhere, but I guess we're just going to focus on Toronto Regional Real Estate Board stats today. Do you hear?
I heard someone describe it that way, and I have something to say about that.
Well, on this episode of Real Estate Chat with
John de Perez.
and Robert E., the scary stuff doesn't stop just because it's November, because now we're going to go back to October and review why it's been the worst October since
1996.
There you go. So Robert has shared with us some charts that we're going to go through, his monthly real estate market update, and we're going to start right here. We're going to jump right into it. Is this our first slide?
That's
It
the
is.
last one.
This one's the first slide.
That's the first one. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, because what we want to know is why things are how we hear, but if we were actually a participant, why would we feel that it's completely different than what's being reported in the news? So we're going to go through and talk about the things that add up to the whole. One of the things that adds up to the whole is how many sales are there and what is the active inventory. So that's what this one shows. Shows that we hit 4 last month and we've nudged up a little bit. And 4, we haven't seen 4 since February of 09 months of inventory. All this fantastic time, then, 50% of the people that have a real estate license when they join has all been down when it's 2-3 months of inventory. They don't know anything about what's going on when it hits 4.
So Robert, I'm going to interrupt for the newbies of our real estate chat who have not yet clicked like and subscribe, but will do so hopefully by the end of this video. Toronto Regional Real Estate Board publishes a trend months of inventory. You are publishing a different number of months of inventory.
This is actual. This is actual.
So can you discern, first of all, months of inventory means if everything
we take the total, there's a snapshot that the board takes on the last day of the month. You can't cheat with that because it's either active or it's not. And so they say that it's 19,485 or something or other. I thought it was 19,500. I was off by 15. And then they tell you how many sales there are. And so you divide one into the other and you get the number of months of inventory. And there's no fudging that. So the result this time is 4.21 months.
There you go. It'll take in just 4 months, everything will sell. Now at peak market, it was down to less than a month. It was just a couple of days.
.66 and .54.
Exactly. Half a month, basically. So Robert, continue on with your discussion of the months of inventory.
Okay, so this is a reading of the two components, inventory and sales. However, if you're actually trying to buy a house, you're not looking at the whole inventory. You don't care about all the sales. You don't care how many other buyers there are. You're looking at a geographic and a price range, and you're looking for just what you want. You want a reasonably nice, not perfect house, in a reasonably nice, not perfect neighborhood, in reasonably nice, not perfect shape. And if you were somebody who was doing that right now, you would not find that it's a buyer's market because you're a buyer, you're pre-approved, you're trying to buy something and you can't buy anything. So why is that? Next slide is inventory. So this is plain and simple. One of the components that we used to create the previous months of inventory. And in the month of October, normally there is 15.4 or 14.4, depending whether you're using the 5 or the 10-year average. So we are about 30% above that. So if there's so many listings, how come the market's so tight? If you really want to buy something, if you want to observe it from Vancouver, it's loosey-goosey and low and terrible. But the prices have not fallen. If the sales were so low, the prices would fall, but they're not.
Why is that? Why is it?
That's why we're doing this whole thing here.
All right, let's not spoil the surprise then.
So here we go with the new listings. There's a certain number of new properties that come on the market every month. It doesn't matter whether it's December or January or June or July, which are traditionally slow months because it's sort of contrary to the regular weather and school year cycle. However, there are estate sales that take 8 months to process when you normally thought probate was going to take 6 weeks. It takes 8 months. So there's new listings all the time. In October, we had reported on the Toronto Real Estate Board 14,393 new listings. Okay, of the 19 and change that they said, this many new. My goodness, so must be great turnover. Or how come? But however, when we look a little bit deeper, according to their calculation of same owner, same broker, same property within the original listing time period picked out by a computer algorithm, there were 4,654 duplicates. Now they call that a 32.3% share, meaning that when you subtract the duplicates from the news, you get 97.43 as the new net listings. Now, the new net listings, I've got that charted down here on a red line, and the one that's reported and you normally hear about is the blue line. So you can see the average sort of running down the middle there at 14 something or other, 13.4 and 13.5. And the difference is these do-overs, where it's the same listing that's run through the system a second time, a third time, sometimes 4 times within a month from a marketing standpoint. Now, it's okay to do that. You can change strategy. It's just, it's a misleading for us to call it a new listing every time, because in this case, instead of having 14,000 new listings, we have 9,700. So instead of being 6 and change percent above the average, we're actually 28% below the average for new listings. So that means that there's a scarcity of new listings. Now, the new listings are the new hot thing. Nobody's seen it before. So if there's a scarcity of the new hot thing, but there's a record number of inventory, what's going on here? Because with inventory, you can only count it once. These ones are counting some things 3-4 times in a month. So now we're getting close. Next time. So one of the things that's monitored by real estate pundits and people in Vancouver and Montreal that work for national banks that want to tell you why you should give them your money rather than invest it in real estate, they watch the sales to new listing ratio, which normally, and I don't even know what normally means anymore, is a good barometer, because if you look at the new listings, which is the new supply, and divide that by the number of sales, what's being withdrawn, you should get an idea of what the pace of the market is. Everything that's being presented being absorbed, or an amount equal to, or more or less. Now we know there's 4 months of inventory. So what is the ratio? So if we say that with the black line, with the red line, that there's 14,397 new listings, and we divide that by the number of sales, 4646, which was, as we were mentioning earlier, is of the 28 last years that we're watching, because I say the real estate market started over in 1995 when buyer brokerage came in and when the computer really took over. So from 96 through to now, those 28 years, this is the 28th best year for October. Anyway, so if you divide that by 4646 using the standard method suggests it's a buyer's market because that ratio works out to 32.27%. The unfortunate thing is, with all these do-overs in there, 47.77% of them are do-overs. You really only have 9743 new listings. So if you take that number and divide it by 4646, you find out that it's around 4751. Now that's balanced market territory, somewhere between 42.5 and 62.5. That's balance. Earlier in the year, you can see the black line and red line as well, going way up over 60%, 70%, where everything, an amount equal to everything, an amount equal to the sales every month were being sold. So this is what we have to deal with. The supply of new listings is finite. People are deciding not to put their property on the market. However, the way the relators, as they mispronounce it in the United States, are putting through and relisting, terminating one, relisting the same listing again, with a low price first time, with a high price the next time, with a change price, and they're doing it again now with a firm price. Oh, they're doing it all over the place because they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do after 9 days, because that's what they're used to, having a listing sell. They don't know that a normal listing, that's the reason why the listing is 90 days, 60-day minimum on MLS, because it takes 2 months to sell a house in the normal market. So there's your answer. That it's a misread of the volume of new listings. Now, That's why the sale prices, on average, the blend of ones that listed and sold, the ones I'm sorry, of inventory that sold, was the second best October ever. And it's 97% of the maximum October that ever was. So you can see it here on this chart. We're in between the second and the third best previous year. And we're 85%, 84 point some or other of the peak in February. And we're 8% above where we were at the end of January. And we're a tiny tad. I thought we were going to dip. I thought we were going to be 0.92% of September. It turns out we're 100.6% of September. So we're a little bit better than we were. So how can it be? How can it be? It's because people are not bailing out. The people who are selling are not strapped. Now, this may happen where the investor who's underwater is going to say, look, I can't carry it anymore. I can't make the renewal. I can't go with another secondary lender. I can't go with another tertiary lender. I just can't get 4 mortgages on this place to swing it. I just got to let it go. So that may affect things, but there's far too many regular homeowners who've been there for 30 years, who've been there for 10 years, who, they're just moving on to the next place, or maybe now one of the spouses has come, or a new one's gone, or the family's changed and the kids and whatever. So it's just regular things, but they're not under pressure from mortgage rates. They're not under pressure for monthly payments. They want to sell the house. That's all there is to it.
Or could we also say, Robert, that this is just lagging? Because, I mean, I don't know how many markets you were there for the 90s market, but how quick was the price movement when everything occurred in the 90s, which we've talked about in previous episodes. So make sure you watch those. But could we just be experiencing a lag in the meantime while everybody's trying to feel out, here, where do we think this is going? And let's say spring 2024 comes, and you all should look forward to our 2024 forecast video coming up. It's November now, probably next month we'll be doing it, but maybe it's just a lag. What if things do dip? And I know there's buyers that are sitting on the fence because they think prices may dip.
Let's use the next slide as an example. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is the sales. Sales, we've been saying it's 40% off all the way to the one I want is the next one. That it was suggested to us by our favorite lawyer, Mitch Corman, that the reason the average price is going down is because there's no $5 million houses for sale. He lives in a $5 million house. And so we looked at it, and we can't find $5 million houses because the board stops the examination at $2 million. So we started charting, went back 5 years on what are over $2 million. And at the time, they had gone down a little bit. We see the 3-year average, we see the 5-year average, we see year to date. The average for participation, the number of sales over $2 million is 7%, which is more than it's been for a long, long time. Now, for a long, long time, $2 million was a huge price. $1 million was a luxury house, and $2 million was like fantastic. So now $1 million is normal average price, and $2 million is pretty darn good, but you have to go up to like $4 million before you get fantastic luxury. So those houses are still selling. They're still having a share of the sales. We say the sales are out by 40%, but they're still having a share equal to the smallest little condominium apartment has that same share as what it always had. So everything is the same. It's just shrunk. Now, you say, what's going to happen in the future? Is there a lag? Yes, there's a lag, because everybody who's a buyer is expecting things to collapse, and everybody's a seller expecting things to get better. So guess what? They both cannot be right, but they both can be wrong. That if we looked at our most recent similar market, which I'm saying is the 1989 through 96 transition from oil prices and interest rates and high interest rate or high real estate prices, everybody in a bad mood, labor unrest, all kinds of things. So I say it's a similar market. We saw the market go from a peak in late 89 to the bottom in late 96, from 100% at the peak to about 72%. So right now we're at 83% from the last peak. So we can go down a little bit more. It's a lot, because we're talking about $1 million. So 10% of that is, 1.3 was the top. So 10% of that is $130,000. But what we've already seen, nearly 20%. So what's going to happen in the future is interest rates are finally going to be too much for people to bear, too much for the politicians to bear, and too much for the Bank of Canada to look back and say, oh, 3 months ago it was not having any effect. They're going to finally say, well, I think it's having an effect, and so we're going to either announce that we're at the peak here, and somebody from the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions is going to say, well, tell you what, I think this added 2% is making things too difficult. We're going to get rid of that for a while. You watch for this to happen, because they've got to stimulate. They've got to stimulate the housing market. So much spin-off business, so much general good feeling and well-being and good attitude towards being alive in Canada happens from a healthy real estate market. It doesn't have to go up tons. It just has to go up a tiny bit. People are happy. It goes up a tiny bit. So what's going to happen? The lag is going to shake out all of the nonsense. And the Bank of Canada said, shake out all of the nonsense in the government of Canada. They've already made it heating oil, get rid of the tax. You watch, they take the tax off of gasoline because that's into every single price. We said before, why is it we have unaffordability? Unaffordability because high prices. What caused the high prices? High interest rate. What caused the high interest rates? And the relative income of the family that's trying to buy. Now, if the incomes have been just putzing along fine, we can't say the incomes have gone down. That's not the problem. The problem is, why did the prices go up? The prices went up because the rates went down too low. During that time, the low rate lockdown, this same fella, Tiffany, our Tiffany Macklem, decided he was going to keep the rates low, and he was going to tell people he's going to keep the rates low. And guess what? With a 2% inflation and a 2% mortgage rate, people were buying up houses like crazy with free money. Wouldn't you? And if you didn't, you probably were crazy. And guess what? They kept it too long. Things went too far. People from all kinds of countries who didn't live in the property, it was just an investment, boosted up the prices. So how are we going to undo all that? That is the question.
Well, let's jump. I think we skipped over the sales, but I guess
sales are very simple. Sales are 40%, 44% in this case, off the normal.
All right. Then that's pretty much it. We've covered it. And you know what? I guess to wrap up this episode for our Real Estate Chat viewers, it's gauging the sentiment of the market, right? What's the perspective of the market? Because you will hear on the media, they're always going to say the scary stuff, the bad stuff, the downer stuff, the perma bear stuff, all the negatives. Then you're going to hear from your real estate agents, oh, buy this, buy that. There's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity there. I mean, who's telling the truth, Robert? Is it the real estate agents? Is it the media? Do you all have to just follow your heart and, figure out what's best?
You said it at the meeting this morning, 46 sales. So 9,000 sales made a deal last month out of 72,000. There's a lot of people that, if this is a commission business, they need to make a sale. So they'll say whatever it takes to make a sale. You as the customer, you as the client, you as the person spending the money, you just have to be cautious. That's all. You know what's right. You know what's right for you. You know what payment is good. And if you're buying now, it should be a time for you to buy, but there's nothing for sale because everybody is holding back. There will be a time when these people say, well, I guess the prices are going to stay the same, or they're maybe going to go down a bit, so I'm going to let it go. And there will be more properties coming. Just don't be in a rush.
Do the right thing for you. And if you have any questions about what is the right thing for you, feel free to type it into comments and share with our Real Estate Chat community. And we'd love to hear from you in terms of what you feel about the market, where you see the market going. And if you have any questions about the market, we'll be happy to hear from you, and we'll be happy to chat with you. Thanks for watching this episode of Real Estate Chat. Take care and bye for now.
Bye-bye.